So what's happening right now are brands are going to have to try and understand, and they are doing a much better job now, on how do we communicate to the woman, right, to the end consumer. And the biggest question, and what the methodology was built around, was why does she buy? What is going to motivate her? And how do we connect with her quickly in order to create an emotional connection with her, and so that she'll trust what we're going to say and what we're selling. And so what I try to explain of what I do is in order to understand why a woman buys, you have to understand what she's driven by and how she makes the decision. And our DNA, our human behavior, like you had mentioned earlier, tells us that we make split decisions within less than a second. And women make those decisions with 95% of the time by emotion. Okay, so we all know we'll go to a store and we say something, we're like, oh, that's so cool. And you can imagine the story behind it, and I'm going to do this and this with it. And then you bring the logic in afterwards to justify the buy, right? And so if we're able to understand that women now make the largest decisions, they make it based on emotion. And human beings do make it on emotion, but women tend to make, use that emotional gut instinct a lot more than men as a whole do. And then we need to go, okay, well then how do we create a connection emotionally? What's the best way to do that? And that's telling a story, right? From the beginning, people relate to stories. Stories take us on a journey. They connect us, we can relate, we find pieces of a story that we can say, okay, I get that, right? Everyone says, you know, how do I connect with someone? Tell me where you went to school. Do we know someone, right? It's that kind of concept. So if we now know that stories are the greatest piece and tool of marketing, then we need to take it even a further step back and say, okay, we need to tell a story now in less than a second. Leaders need to tell stories like that. And how that happens is by first impression. And we've been taught for so long to say, don't judge, right? Don't judge a book by its cover. But truly, instead, let's flip that understanding and say, let's capitalize on that, right? Let's say, okay, we can control the conversation, and now let's understand how we can do that. And how can we do that before I even open my mouth? How can I establish trust? How can I establish an emotional response to say, oh, I want to learn more from her. She must be an expert. So one of the things that I do, and I did with you guys last time, is, you know, as you guys jump on the screen, other than the Zoom bomb that happened, which was a fascinating picture that came up, was when you saw me sitting here, whether you knew it or not, you already decided whether you were going to trust me and whether or not you thought I had something valuable to add. Simply by how I was sitting, maybe the sweater I'm wearing, what's behind me, Tito's maybe because you like vodka, whatever it may be, right? That you just immediately gravitated. Yes, no, arms folded, hinge back or come forward. And that is the crux of this method that I've built, is starting with that story and then using what you wear, how you appear, as a tool to continue that story so that you align the purpose of a brand and why I would want to buy into a brand because of that journey.
Awesome. Yeah. And I totally agree with women being like the biggest consumers and having the buying power. You know, I mean, obviously my online shopping has gone up quite a bit since being locked inside.
Interesting. Mine's, yeah.
So over the years and through, you know, your own personal experiences, which you detailed a bit in the book, you've honed the ability to read people quickly and find ways to connect. This is such a valuable skill for networking and honestly just a great skill for life in general. Do you have any tips on how to improve that skill for those of us that maybe don't have that natural ability?
Sure. You know, it's when I work with my clients, you know, I always tell them, learn how to read yourself and the messaging that you want to give, because once you're able to do that, you're able to clearly read others and you're able to connect and understand what they're trying to say. You know, growing up in my childhood with you know, a mom who was terminally ill, but you know, it was a survival skill that I had to learn to know if I walked in a room reading people's body language, what they're wearing, maybe their face or whatever, to know whether or not mom was home or not, was something that I was kind of pushed into to learn. And that's the silver lining of what my son calls superpower. But I think the biggest thing is to go back and to change the way that you see what your closet looks like, to change the way that you define and have that mindset of what a blazer or what, you know, what shoes or whatever it may be, what that means, and to see it as a way to communicate versus a way to either cover up or exude a label or a trend. And so I like to say, find clarity in your own story. Use that story to then really authentically show who you are with what you wear. And you're immediately going to connect with those people that can see you and you know, have a common thread, pun intended, really.
I love it. That's great. No, I definitely is a superpower. I think it's amazing that you can do that so quickly. So in a world that's constantly examining women's bodies and physical appearances, women are starting to really put their foot down and push back on beauty standards. How, you know, if at all, has that shift influenced your line of work and your methodology?
One, it's awesome. I'm over 40 now, and I think for the first time I've accepted that I'm perfect the way I am, and I can still enjoy what I want to enjoy, and not to beat myself up over it. I think we're in an era where women are taking the control back. We are no longer allowing industries, companies or whatever to tell us what to wear. We're allowed to think about, what do we want to wear? How do we want to be seen? What makes me feel confident and powerful? It might be the same thing that all of us are expecting everyone to wear, right? A suit or whatever it is. But in some sense, we've been given the permission, and we demand that permission to think about and control what we want to wear and what that's saying to everyone. And I think women are being kinder to women, which is awesome. I also think that there's more of a control to dictate how the fashion industry is creating clothes. Sizing is shifting. Labels don't matter as much, right? It's dressing for who you are, not who everyone wants you to be. And so that being said, I think my method and this 3-step process and the way that I walk my clients through this is more important than ever, because I even go so far sometimes with a client to, if they are really about, let's say, oceans and saving the ocean and go blue, then let's find designers that stand for that, right? That Vivienne Westwood is all about that, right? So we really have control to say this works and this doesn't work. And in order to do that, you don't just buy a piece of clothing, you buy the story and you buy how that fits into who you are and you know, what you stand for.
Yeah, that's so great. And yeah, I was just thinking about it. That definitely like plays into your methodology even more, because that's the point, right? Like where what you feel comfortable in, where what you feel confident in, and that's the way the beauty industry is trending anyways. So
yeah, we definitely have a bigger voice and buying power.
Absolutely. So you mentioned playing the game, as in building up your social media following, which is essential but can sometimes feel impersonal. It's definitely something a lot of us, especially in marketing, have to deal with. How do you feel like you can combat that feeling of impersonal interaction?
Yeah, I burned out, and I really struggled with social media, and I still struggle with social media. I think I got to a point about 2-3 years ago where I decided that the game that we were supposed to play isn't the game I want to play. And so I decided to redefine the game and change the rules. And I went all the way back to, what's my purpose, right? Why do I do what I do? And my purpose is to share and to give advice and to give tips and to connect to people. And it's not about money, it's about purpose, right? And it's about saying, okay, your story matters, here's mine. Let me share others. And so I stopped doing this mass Hootsuite and, like, oh, I'm supposed to do 3:00 on Wednesdays because that's what I'm supposed to do. And oh my gosh. And I decided to say, okay, again, let's go back to this method. Who's my audience? What's my purpose? What's the story? How do I want to connect? What do I want to teach? And where am I going to find those clients? And so I really honed in, and I am now on more LinkedIn, more on, Instagram. It is visual. Obviously I talk about, visual and connecting that way. I purposely leave, actually, just so you guys know, I purposely leave my Instagram. If you scroll to the bottom, I make sure that you can see this rebranding and restoring, that's stories that are happening, because I don't want to get rid of those stories, but I'm not that story anymore. And so change the game. That's what's great about it. We can go. I mean, it's never set in stone, and the game's never over, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think we had some great social interaction these last.
Oh my gosh, yours were awesome. Like, screenshot keep. Yeah, no, I was impressed. I'm like, gosh, if I could just have one more person out.
Yeah, no, it's been really fun engaging with you on social media leading up to this event and just in general.
Right.
As a millennial, we're all over social media, but it's definitely strange to take something that I usually do from personal entertainment and put it into a work setting. So yeah, I like your advice on kind of redefining the game and making it your own.
Well, and I also think really think about content. More is less. If you can share it through stories, obviously it's more important, but people also remember things in threes. So remember that when you're going out there, if you have something to say, just make it really short and sweet and make it connect. And you don't have to post every day. I had to give myself permission to stop. And when I post when I can and trust that it'll work out and it'll grow the way it should.
Make it 3, story, style, brand. There you go.
So everything in my book, so I never talk about this on Audible, is my book is story, style, brand. My method is 3. There's 3 sections. There's, so everything is in 3s. Everything I talk about is in 3s. Even what I do is in 3s.
I love it. 3rd time's the charm. Amazing.
Exactly.
So is there one piece of style advice that you give to all your clients? Just anything we can all do to put our best foot forward.
Sure. And I get asked this question a lot because what I do and how I help how I help others connect and build a brand and find the right story to tell is through what we wear, and that happens to be my gift, right? And that's my kind of expertise. So what I would say, my advice is, before you open your closet, I want you to think about what you want to say, right? And I want you to think about, if I walked in a room, what would I want people to think about me? Not about what I'm wearing, but what do I want people to think about me? Like, wow, she's confident, or whatever it is. And then this is what I practice. This is, I'll have the client I'll open your door, and I want you to pick out 3 pieces, right? 3 pieces that you just naturally gravitate towards, and look at what you pick, because a lot of the times when we get dressed, the first thing we do is we're going to create a comfort zone, right? A confidence zone. So we pick the piece that covers the area that we don't like the most, right? Because it's like, okay, now I'm okay. Now I can settle. So for me, I pick my jeans, because yes, I wear jeans all the time. Because that's what it is. The second piece you pick is your confidence builder. That's the one where you're like, okay, I look good. I got this, right? Now, most of the time. So I want you to think about why you choose what you choose. And the piece that you choose that makes you feel the most confident, that's the story that you're telling. Because that's what's going to change the way that you feel, and the way you carry yourself, and the way you appear. So my advice is, it's not a single piece, because it's not about the trend or what you buy. The single piece is what makes you feel amazing, where the chin goes up, shoulders back, and you're like, damn, I got this, even though you're by yourself and no one will ever see you do that, right? So find that piece first and build around it. And then say, okay, is this how I want to feel? And is this going to start the conversation that I want? And so, yeah, if people ask me about pieces to buy, and it's not really pieces, it's the story you want to share. And is that really you? And it gives you confidence. Absolutely. I mean, I have my own. I'm gray, white, and black, pretty much the whole thing in my closet. It's like this big. But
I'm very impressed that you're still wearing jeans when only from here up is even.
But that's the thing, right? If you think about just the emotional response, think about it like this: if you had your favorite sweater that you never wear, and because you don't know how to do it, but it's your favorite sweater, when you put that on, 2 things happen, right? It's enclosed cognition. You think about how it makes you feel because the memories that you have. And it also gives you that confidence, like, I've got this, I can settle inside because I'm enough, right? I'm good. That's what we do, right? Those are the pieces that are the most important to us. So it's just to be mindful that every piece, it can empower you. And then also when someone then says, oh my gosh, conversation started, right? Oh, I love that. Well, it's my grandma's, right? By saying that, what did you just do to someone? You gave them permission to be themselves and to go find, a scarf that was so-and-so or whatever. So it's just allowing that permission to continue.
Absolutely. Very cool. So shifting into some virtual related questions, since
Right.
this is our new normal. Your methodology focuses on how your personal style matters when you're at work, giving a presentation, giving a keynote on a stage, in-person occasions. But for the foreseeable future, our stage is now our desks, our computer screens. So how does your methodology translate to this new way of work?
I think, I thought about this last night when I was getting ready, and then I'm writing a couple more articles, and I'll be rolling out with 3 webinars, and one of them is about this. The method is even more important now. We've literally been cut in half, and we've lost a lot of opportunity to engage on all different senses. So our brain connects with sound, right? Smell, feel, visual, audio, right? We connect this way, and we create this trust and this connection. And so when you lose the ability to watch someone walk on stage, when you lose the ability to hug someone or to engage someone this way, and to see how other people react, right? And to see a room and what happens and the lights and all that stuff, you lose that. And so it's even more essential today that we really understand the value of first impressions and the value of really honing in on how do I, share my purpose? How do I share who I am and be authentic? And one of the biggest things is what's behind you. Now, I understand that we all don't have an office that might be ideal because we've been thrown into this much faster than we were ready for. But there are things that you can do to make sure that, your camera's up high, that you have enough light, that you're not wearing huge, traffic control headphones. What are the things that you can do to say, hey, look, this is me. I'm always looking at someone's screen from behind them. I'm looking at the books that they have. I'm looking at little kids, right? And that creates this story. And so style is going to matter. I feel like style matters more. I told someone yesterday in an interview, and I was saying that I posted this on Instagram today, which is there's 2 different ways to work. There's I'm working from home, and then there is I'm ready to work. And so not only is it important for externally, it's more important, I think, than ever to do it for yourself and to get dressed from head to toe, and to shower. And I'm not judging anyone who doesn't do that, but I do think that you feel better. You put effort into yourself, and therefore you'll put effort into your work and to other people.
I love that. Working from home or ready to work. I feel like that's very...
Because we'll probably be here after this whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a good question for any writers out there. When you were writing your book, how did you overcome writer's block? We've all had it. There's a lot of tips out there for how they push back past it, but was there anything that you found that really helped you kind of keep going when you hit that wall?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy the process of writing at all. I didn't want to write a book, never thought I would write a book. I talk about this in, I think, chapter 4 or 5 when I started the company. I couldn't even write 150 words. It took me 3 nights to do it on how to wear a white t-shirt. Seriously, I have about 20 of them. And so when someone approached me and said, you should write a book about your method and what you do, I thought, okay, fine, I'll just put together these stats and this chart, and it'll take me like 3 months, no big deal. And then I realized that that book is not me. And that's not what I do. And that what I am best at is telling stories. I'm a storyteller. I help others learn how to tell stories. And so I walked away. I wrote a 400-page book that was awful, trying to find every stat possible and trying to be enough. And then my therapist, actually, I was sitting on 25th Avenue in a parking lot. It was hot and I didn't want to go home. And I was just like, this sucks. And she just said, take it all back and start from the beginning and unlayer your own self as onions of everything I was supposed to be like in this book and start from the beginning. And so that's when I decided to share my childhood. And the minute I did that, and the minute I decided to say that I was going to write a book on stories for myself and for others. I wrote this book in 9 weeks. Because it finally fit. So for someone who wants to write a book, one, give yourself permission that it's going to take time, and that whatever you get done, when you finish a book, you did it. Whether or not it ever sells, you did it, right? And that's a huge thing. And I wrote this book not for money. I wrote this book to open doors because I can't get to enough of you by myself. And I want to share what I have learned and ways that you can do this to share your own story. And so when you have writer's block, go for a walk, let it go, ask for help, walk away, and then go back to basics and just tell your story. That's all you need to do. Tell your story.
That's amazing. I mean, people have a hard time deleting sentences, let alone an entire 400-page book. So that must
let me be honest. I still can't even write an article now. For I have 3 that are due, and Janet and Lindsay will know that I'm like,
you are not being fair to yourself. I am going to interject. I've got it. You are not being fair. You write a beautiful article.
Well, you should see the backstory.
Second.
No, it's just massive. The amount of that happens before it comes out.
Okay. All right. And I can tell many stories of how you've already helped me. And I look terrible tonight, folks. I did do my run and my lighting is terrible. And I read all her articles and I'm not doing them. So
you've crushed a few meetings you've told me about. So.
I have. Yeah, I did. I have.
Well, I definitely don't want to take anyone's time from, opening it up to questions if people have them. I just want to, so I'll just skip to the last question I have for you, which is, what's the biggest takeaway that you want readers to get from this book?
I guess, I just got emotional. Why was that? I have not had too many drinks, I promise. I thought about that. I wrote it because I want it to give permission for others to find their story, to really find it. And every story matters. And every time we lose a story, we lose a piece of us. And that at the end of the day, human beings want to connect. They want to know that they're normal and they're needed. And the more that we share our stories, the more we ask for help, the more that we empower and engage and inspire others to do the same, the better we all are. And so this book was very vulnerable. It was scary, but I knew that if I shared my story, it would matter to someone, at least one. And so that's my hope.
That's great. And I think, the whole story of how, including your childhood and all your past to ending up, where you are today and doing what you're doing was, I think, a huge part of explaining why it is that you do what you do. So I think it was really powerful to include all of that. And I'm definitely glad you did. Thank
you. Yeah, no, I mean, if you guys have read it, great, you get it. If not, there are some crazy stories of failing hard. And that's the fun part for me that I never shared with other people. So
yeah, great story for any journey you're on. It's
just reach out to me. I can talk about anything, especially about Zoom bombing. Totally got it.
Oh gosh.
Don't even worry. I mean, again, this is what's normal, right? This is normal. This is funny. Well, not what they said, but that's the whole purpose. It builds another story. It's another, now all of us have a connection, right?
Yes, a horrifying one.
Well, for them, yes.
Well, I want to open it up to questions. If people have them, go ahead and jump in. We'll try to keep some order to the chaos, not have too much overlapping, but we'll see how it goes. So anyone have a question they want to ask?
I have a question. Hi, Janelle. Thanks for doing this again. Yes, we're in the Serengeti, which is lovely. So, when I love that you ask people what story they want to tell, and I know that you work with a lot of powerful, driven, and successful people, especially women. And I'm just wondering if there's a common thread. I don't want you to call out any specific clients or anything, but if there's a common thread in the story that you hear people wanting to tell about themselves.
The common thread, I think, with all my clients is we want to be enough. Mm-hmm. The common thread is that we want to be accepted, and that when the women, women in leadership that I work with, because I also work with moms, right? Moms that are transitioning from motherhood into career. But for them, it's a time, it's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of need. And I actually didn't draw this graph in the book, but it's that concept of, I want to be enough. I've made it as so everyone thinks I have. I'm still that little girl, or that voice inside that wants to tell everyone else that they can do it. But they see themselves as at a point now where it's their responsibility, it's their honor, and it's their hope that they can turn around and lift others up with them. And so you can use empower and inspire and engage and whatnot. But I think they finally realized that it took a lot of people for them to feel good about themselves to get there. In fact, it took me I did the math, it was over 65 women, some of them are on this call, that got me to where I was. They just gave me their time and whatnot. So I said, that's really when I think about, what do they say in the dressing room? What do they say when they've taken all their clothes off and we're trying things on? It's so vulnerable at that point. And a lot of times it's first you cover up, and then once they realize that they're accepted in their power and they're awesome, then they say, okay, what can I help others with? And they think beyond themselves. And so there's this honor that they can now have the platform to turn around and help other people.
Wow. Yeah, that's really
Cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. It's definitely a transformation. I always get chills when I watch them kind of go and crush something. And then you see Twitter, and again, in chapter 8 or 9, I do a case study on Stephanie Buscemi, who's the CMO of Salesforce now. And the Twitter feeds have nothing to do with what she's wearing. You know, it's, I want to be like her someday. Wow, I want to work for Salesforce, because women like that are so powerful. And like, that is the sole purpose I get up in the morning, to tell everyone that, you know, you got it in you. You just got to believe, and we owe it to everyone else to help.
Yeah, I love that.
Very cool.
Any other questions? I always have more.
Janel, some of my friends want to purchase your book. However, they are worried that Amazon is going to take forever. Is there an alternative way that they can get a faster copy?
Yeah, on Audible. It just came out.
Okay.
I actually, when I recorded Audible, the reason why I did it in my own voice, even though a lot of people said don't, it's because if it's my story, it's my voice. And I'm not a professional. There are stories in there in the Audible that are not in the book. And I learned that how fun it was, because I'm the author. I can just kind of change things up as I wanted to go. You can hear some of my emotion in there as I struggled or laughed about things that were just, you know, awkward. So if anything, you know, the Audible is a great thing for me right now, because you get to hear my voice as well. And that would be my hope. But yeah, Audible's there. There's podcasts that are coming out if they want a little bit of tidbits of what we talk about. But yeah, great question. Thank you, Heather. Who is in the book? Cheers.
And Heather, I would also say, I got to tell you, it is still available on Amazon, because it's still, you know, they have it in their warehouse, so you'll still be able to get, it won't be that delayed. So until we run out, which we may run out soon.
I won't lend them mine, because I just won't.
Oh, awesome.
I don't see anyone jumping quite up for a question. I do have one that I skipped that I was very keen on asking, so I'll go ahead and ask it.
Okay.
You talked in the book about, you know, a lot of aha moments you had throughout your career, and this is something the Cunningham Collective team is very familiar with and big fans of. So, you know, I'd be curious to know what you'd say your biggest or most valuable aha moment was.
Yeah, sitting where I am today, it happened because I broke down in Chicago. And so I think my aha moment was after that. In Chicago, I was a mom. My mother had started to get sick again, She almost passed twice while she was visiting me. And it was overwhelmed. And there was a big part of me that was angry that I didn't have my career and it was my turn and I didn't know what to do. And I felt lost and just, I was gone really inside. But I didn't look like it. I've learned looking back. And so there was just this moment where I broke down and I was in the shower, and this is a lot, but I'll share this with you. And I'm in the shower and I'm crying and all I'm saying is I can't do this anymore. And so my husband comes, picks me up, and within a week I am back in California. I am trying to get myself back, and my husband says, well, I'm going to send you to New Jersey to go to Tony Robbins. And I was like, Tony Robbins, like walk on fire? Okay, like whatever. And so I went, and Dave was really sweet. He just said, you should go. And I was like, I'm fine. He goes, no, you should go. Don't worry about the kids. Just go out there and don't call. And I didn't realize how broken I was. But the aha moment was when I was laying on the cement floor in this huge, arena, and I'm visualizing my whole life going through. And I'm realizing that I have the power and the control to pick the stories that I want to define me. And I'm laying there as I'm going through this, a lot of my childhood I go through. And at that moment I said, it's my turn. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to get to more women earlier than where I am now, to say, share your story. You've got this. Like, you deserve to be heard. And I had lost my voice. And so when I'm flying back from New Jersey, I write this long thing, and I still have it on this, my cool little like leather binder, because I thought I was like all ready to go for a new company I was going to build, which I had no clue what it was. And I wrote this whole thing, and this was this like empowering movement where I'm like, you know what? I've been pent up. Like, I've got so much to give, and I don't care. I don't know what it is. And when I get home and I get in the taxi and I take out my luggage, and the kids are saying hi, and my husband's there, and whatever, and I see a tear in his eye, and I look up at him, and he never cries. And I said, what's wrong? And he goes, well, I didn't think you'd come back. Right? I was so far gone. And so I always remember every time that I kind of lose sight, like social media or whatever it is, it's like, why? And it's like, it was that cement floor. And when I stood up, it was no longer about anyone else but me. And that's what drives me, is to always make sure I come back in that taxi, to always make sure I come back to my roots, and never forget that my story matters and everyone else's story matters. And damn it, if I can get just 15 of you to realize that that you have a chance to really be authentic and to go out there and crush it, then I've done my job. So.
Amazing. This book it's so great. It's life advice, it's business advice, it's career advice, it's fashion advice. It's vulnerable, it's relatable. I really enjoyed it. I read it twice.
Aww,
so
my family.
I absolutely recommend it to anyone and everyone. I think that was like a really great, inspiring note to end on. If no one else has any questions, take that as a no. If you do, you can hit us up on social. We're very good at it. And
reach out to me. I would, I'm always here to talk and to learn from you guys, because what I do is only fueled by more stories. And I need more stories to share, more stories to continue to thrive, because it's what I wake up for. So.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys, everyone, for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers,
everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Great job.
Bye, guys. Cheers. Thank
Good
you.
job, Janel.
Bye, everyone.
Awesome
Bye.
job.
Bye, Janelle.
Bye.
Bye.